Hello and welcome back to the Free Speed Podcast, your go-to podcast for navigating fitness and life with purpose. We're your host, Natasha Bozic.
And I'm Calvin Fogler.
And today we have a very special episode. It is our first ever video episode. If it works out, fingers crossed. We have our whole podcast set up with our big lights and our props and our poster with our logo that I spent so much time creating, and I think it looks really sick.
It's funny because we came home Tash picked me up from work today, and we're going to record the podcast right away. And we have been sitting here just for the last 2 hours, making sure the lighting's right, making sure there's no glare in if you see this thing up here, there was the worst glare just 30 minutes ago. Everything is trying to be just perfectly in frame. It's just so funny.
Making sure
anyone who does
anyone
who's interested in starting their own podcast or doing this, it's definitely worth it, but it takes a lot of work. So anyone who's putting effort into podcasting, definitely make sure you know that that they're really putting a lot of effort in. So give us a life update, Tash. What have we been up to?
So the last time we talked, honestly, when we do a podcast, we do it and then I just kind of forget about what we talked about.
It was Hyrox. We were talking about Hyrox, the three
right
things.
It was more about training.
The three focuses on developing.
Yeah, it's been over a week. I think that's why it's been hard to think about it. We're trying to become more consistent and do it the same day every week from now on, but
especially when we just allocate more time to plan it and everything, and ultimately for you guys it'll be easier to understand when episodes are coming out, when it's just the same day every week.
Exactly.
And ultimately that's what we're going for.
But what's new? We are now 4 weeks out from Hyrox Brisbane. It's Calvin's first men's pro debut, and it's my second, and we both have some big goals, see if we're gonna smash them or not. But you know what's really interesting is that when we moved here, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I moved here with the dream and intention of training at this gym that we train at right now. And I was like, I'm going to work out here. I don't care. Even if it's far away, I'm going to work out here. And I kind of spoke it into existence, and fast forward 3 months now, and everything feels right. And it feels like we met some really, really cool people who push us to be better every single day. It's just great. Everyone there is great.
I think the most important thing that you are really hitting, that I was just thinking about this today as well, is that the time where you are searching for something that's bigger than yourself, that you are very passionate about, is a very lonely time between when you are changing from what you used to be doing to then when you find the people that are going to align with where you want to be.
Yeah, it's actually crazy.
And that jump, that leap is very lonely, and it takes some time. So make sure, if you're in that stage of life where you're kind of, you feel like you don't really connect with the people that you're hanging out with, or you're looking for something different, and it doesn't mean you have to cut off your old friends at all. It just means you're looking for some people maybe that relate to what you're doing.
Yeah.
That
definitely.
Is so important.
I definitely feel like it's a very hard thing to do. It was easier to do it because we made the leap of literally moving across the world. Together, yes. It would definitely be harder to do it if you were still living in your hometown. But I think the fact that we moved out here with the intention of finding those people, obviously it took 3 months, but we are finding those people finally. And for the first time since living in Australia, I feel less homesick.
Yeah, definitely just more connected to the things that other people are doing. Yeah,
and just people that you can relate to. And I don't know. It was really hard living back home because I had a few friends, but I feel like no one kind of understood who I really was. And I still feel like people will never kind of understand who I am. And that's all right. But I feel like there are more people out here that really value
I wanted to say something
out.
that was like, within the first 2 weeks I moved to the Gold Coast, I started this job at a gym, and my boss looked at me and he said, you don't have to be everyone's favorite coach, because some people are just going to like one coach better than another. Some people are going to like you, and some people are just, for whatever reason, however you portray yourself, whatever you're wearing, something like whatever you say, for some reason they might not like you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And a lot of people try and hyperfixate on like making sure that everybody likes them, but at the end of the day, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. And I think that's so valuable in understanding that, like, maybe out of a class of like 25 or 50 people, if there's 50 people in there, there's going to be like 30 people that like you, 15 people that maybe would, like, they appreciate you, but maybe your coaching style isn't the way that they respond to. And there's 5 people that just like simply don't like your coaching style, your intensity, whatever it may be, the way you deliver the message. And I think that's so important in just like internalizing the fact that that's life. That's life. You can't please everybody. To all those people pleasers, I'm one of them. I understand it.
Yeah, definitely. But anyways, life has been feeling really good recently. Especially for me, I feel like I've always struggled making friends. Like, it's been it's been one of my biggest insecurities growing up. Like, I've always struggled making friends, but then also just keeping friends, because I feel like the people that I don't relate to, I find it really hard to just want to spend time with them. And then the people that I did want to spend time with sometimes didn't want to spend time with me. Do you know what I mean? There are people like that, I'm sure you've met, that are like always looking for the better option.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the trickiest things. And actually one thing that I struggle with, which is kind of parallel, was it wasn't only the fact that like maybe they were looking for the better option, but say maybe someone was really good friends, like there was a friend group, and like I really loved hanging out with maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them, but there was a couple guys that like I just like it wasn't really, I didn't really care to hang out with them. And like the things that you would be doing or whatever you'd be doing when those guys were around, you'd just be kind of put off by even wanting to hang out with them. And it would just kind of leave a sour taste in your relationship, because you kind of felt as if you all had to hang out together, or that was part of like kind of just the reality of the situation, where I think you know what I mean too, is like sometimes like you really love hanging out with someone, but they prioritize or value some other things in a different friendship, and you kind of have to let them go. You can't try and like steal them out of that friendship. You know what I mean? It's just like if they don't want to make the right decision, if they're making bad decisions or whatever it may be, then it's just kind of one of those dilemmas where sometimes it's better to just like kind of enjoy being on your own. I think one of the things that you were very good at is being independent, and that's one of the things that I have learned and valued more recently, is like how much independence is a strength. And I think balancing that is actually more of a challenge nowadays. Is like sometimes I get really just exhausted by being around people, but ultimately you just want to have a good time and like be surrounded by people that care about each other. That's the end of it.
Yeah. Anyways, point is, I'm making more friends now, and I actually feel good about it. And it's like for the first time in my life where I'm making friends that I have common interests with
Mm-hmm.
and like actually maybe would want to spend time with me as well, and it's reciprocal.
You can relate to them
versus just me always being the one
Yeah.
reaching out kind of thing. So I don't know. Life feels good.
I want to say something to that point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in this position, just remember the choices you make directly impact your life. And so make a change, make the right choice to seek out people. I think Tash, like you could expand on that more, where maybe even you used to just like let things come to you.
Yeah,
you kind of
definitely.
just sat in that, and I think a lot of people relate to that. Is like they don't choose their friends, they just let whatever is in front of them become their friends.
For sure.
So also internalize that.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, what else is new?
I wanted to talk about my running because
Okay.
I have been running a lot.
Okay.
A lot. And Tash doesn't even want me to talk about it right now because she doesn't think I should be running this much.
No, it's not
And-
that. I think you should just be balancing strength with your running and rest.
So it's interesting because Tash is definitely on the strength side of Hyrox training, where she thinks I'm completely neglecting strength, and Tash kind of focuses on that. And she also gets mad when I get lean. So,
No.
and I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, I don't get mad when you get lean, Calvin.
Okay, then you explain it. You explain
No,
it.
I just think you're prioritizing your running, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for your goals, it's also important to be hitting your strength
Yeah, that's fair.
for what you want to reach.
I just know for me to crack into like from where I think I'm at to where I want to be, the running has to be prioritized.
Yeah.
And I actually saw this recently. So if anyone who's at all interested in Hyrox, the Las Vegas, what is it called? The Elite 15, I guess, series just happened this past weekend. And the guy who won the Elite 15 race was 165 pounds, which is actually crazy considering most of the athletes are around 185, 190, closer to like 84 kilos. And this guy was like closer to 70 kilos, which is insane. Like 68, 70 kilos, which is really light.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting because we could see a shift in, obviously the lighter athlete has an advantage on the run and the burpees and some of those stations, but a significant disadvantage when it's really strength focused. But if they can really kind of hang and not get completely torched by the strength, then it could be one of those situations where it turns into more of a cycling type of sport where athletes kind of get leaner and leaner as we see them develop and progress.
But remember when Hunter McIntyre also did that and that proved to be wrong?
Yeah.
Like
I
he
think
prioritized running a lot more and
Yeah.
tried to get really, really lean, and he did not perform as like the way he wanted
Which
to.
is, I think, obviously the most important thing is where your body wants to be is so important. And listening
For
to
sure.
that, I think you can force yourself in one way or in one direction or another to maybe like try and put yourself in a position where you can gain more muscle, gain more strength, or get more lean. But ultimately, you don't want to be like a bodybuilder at all or dry when it comes to race day. You want to be hydrated and like well fueled and all these things where maybe your six pack isn't showing on the Hyrox race course, but you're ready to perform.
Yeah.
And so what I just wanted to say about the 70K week was I've been strategically building 5 to 10% of my total kilometers week by week. And about week 4, we had this trip to the Australian Open planned, and I also started to notice just like some kind of niggles here and there, and like just like some weird kind of joint pain. And so I decided I'm gonna use it as a deload week. And then the last 2 weeks I've been building up to 65 or 66 and then 70 kilometers, which is insane to even say, like thinking about running 10K every day in just like broken up that way. That's not that's not what I do. I do not run 10K every day. Obviously I divide it up by like doing long runs and short runs and interval runs. But like in my head, I'm like, I can't even believe that's how much my body can actually do. But yesterday I noticed I finished, or it was 2 days ago when I finished my 70K run, and I recorded a couple videos, and I could just feel how my body was exhausted. Like it was really, really exhausted in a physical standpoint, where it was telling me something. And so yesterday I listened to it in the best way possible. And so if you're trying to progress your running, definitely don't increase your kilometers more than 10 kilometers, ideally somewhere between 5 and 10 kilometers week to week. And be very careful once you get up to like total kilometers, where you're kind of on the edge of just really be smart, train smart, and ultimately that consistency will yield the results. And so just like Tash said, 4 weeks out, we're excited, and that's what it's about. If you aren't excited and just ready to race, that is the worst place to be. Just burnt out.
Yeah,
Don't be burnt out.
You can't feel burnt out all the time, and that's a sign that your body needs rest. And I'm glad you took a rest day yesterday.
Yeah,
because you really needed it.
And it's funny because my ego really would like to keep the trend of like trying to hit what I said I was gonna hit. And so this week I think I planned on hitting 75K.
But I think you should still like hit that, but also incorporate a rest day.
Yeah.
I feel like you haven't taken a rest day in like 4 weeks.
Exactly. And so what my
at all,
my plan is if I can do 4 10-mile, which is like 10 miles is like 16K. So if I can do 4 16K sessions, that'll get me up to 64, and then I'll just need a 9K. So I'll need 5 days of running. If I can do that, that's a lot.
But is this like actually benefiting your Hyrox training?
So the reason I'm doing this, I'm glad you asked that, is...
Or are you actually just prepping for marathon?
No, this is my plan for Hyrox, because I think people train for Hyrox a little bit wrong in the fact that like
just engine builder after engine builder.
I just think it's important to be able to be ready to do those workouts and like have some strength there. But personally, I know like where my running capabilities are and like where they can be from just focusing on running, and I'll get so much more benefit just being a stronger runner, just being a better runner, being able to run faster and recover a little bit faster at a faster pace. It's over 30 minutes of the race. It's like 30 minutes of the race. And so if I can put in more time and emphasis there, I also know the long term I need to become a better runner. I know that mentally I can push through more pain strength wise and like dig deeper. But running, I can definitely become a better runner, right? If I was coming from a running background, I would think differently. But I really want to like take the approach where I'm going to train for this race as if it's a running race with my strength background, and I'm going to try and maintain some strength going into it. But ultimately I'm going to show myself, I'm going to show the people watching what kind of plan I put together, what package I put together. And so that's where I'm coming at it. And this week is supposed to be my peak week in terms of total kilometers, like that 75K. That'll be my peak. And then the next 3 weeks will be slowly deloading so that ultimately I am as fresh as possible. And all the running coaches, all the people, all the podcasts I've been listening to, I'm always a student. That's the key, is I'm always a student. I'm always trying to learn from people who are better than me and people who have done more. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. That's all I'll say. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because this is the formula. This is what I believe to be the formula, and ultimately time will tell. That's the greatest thing, is time will tell.
Definitely.
Why don't we talk about your race plan.
Can I talk
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'd love to. I'm excited. I'm excited for Tash.
Sorry, you go on these tangents where I'm just like sitting here going, when can I talk?
Really? That's what you think? You don't think about what I'm saying?
No, I think you forget that I'm part of this podcast sometimes.
No, I just like get into a real deep thought and I just want to share it.
Anyways,
but anyway.
What I want to talk about was how my training is going. And yeah, Hyrox training, race mindset, and kind of just my game plan for Hyrox Brisbane, because let me just take you back to my first Hyrox race. This was in November 2023. We went to Dallas. Calvin and I were still doing long distance. I flew out to Dallas, and then he flew from San Jose to Dallas as well. And his friend, also my friend Spencer, flew from Vancouver to Dallas. So we all spent the weekend in Dallas with a bunch of people from San Jose, and it was a really fun weekend. It was my first ever experience like of any kind of competition. Like, I did not grow up playing sports or competing in any sense whatsoever. So that was all new to me, and it was honestly the hardest thing in my life. I was looking back recently at like just old photos and videos, and I was like, I was in the pain cave. Like, I was struggling, and I finished that. And my fitness level is nowhere near where it is today. Which is such an amazing thing to say. And I just want to jump into, because I think you probably don't even remember this, or you might, but like, I just remember, so Spencer and I were doing like the very early morning. I think we raced at like 7 or 8 a.m. Yeah. And Tash, you didn't race until like 11, 3? 12? PM? 1. Yeah, maybe it was in the afternoon. No, it was like 3 p.m. Yeah, 3 p.m. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I think you might have taken away was just like the lesson that anyone who's new to this stuff is like, you need experience handling pressure. Yeah. And I've never seen you so nervous. Oh my God, I was nervous. I was shitting my pants. And in the start tunnel and people, with all those jack girls, I was like, oh my God. Exactly. And I think I've never ran more than 6K in my life, and I'm doing this race. This was in November 2023. I've now definitely, I'm a better runner now. And I think there's 3 types of people. There's people who say they're excited and they're actually excited, but they're channeling the nerves in a very, very beneficial way. Mm-hmm. There's people who say they're excited, but they're actually very nervous, and they're not that excited. They're more nervous than excited. And then there's people who are just plain out very nervous, and they let the nerves kind of grip their day. They don't eat properly. They don't feel well. That's how I felt. They get to the start line, and they're so nervous that it actually freezes their ability to just relax and enjoy the moment. Enjoy the fact that the hardest work was the training, not the actual race. Yeah. And so that's why I think it's such an amazing like place for you to be now, though, is like, you have the experience, you've been in you know what hard is, like, and it's unfortunate that it just takes time to get that. And like, your first race, it's probably not going to go as planned. Like, no matter what, your first half marathon, your first 10K, your first competition of any sort, you just need to do it to then build a benchmark and like see where you can improve, how it felt, and you just kind of have to go from there. That's kind of how I feel about Hyrox. And I don't know, I don't see it as a sport that I'd want to keep doing like for years and years. Like, I feel like training for it can get quite tiring. Mm-hmm. Like, we've been in like 8 to 12 week training block just now. Actually, no. Before that, we were training for mixed doubles, like August, September, October. Then we kind of took a break, and then the last like 12 weeks we've been training for this. So I guess we've been training for quite a while, but I can see how it can get old. However, I'm excited to do it again, just to see, first of all, if I can improve from my last time, which, fast forward, was in Anaheim in May 2024. So I flew out to Anaheim by myself. I did a solo trip, which, by the way, I highly recommend for anyone to do, is just to go on a trip by themselves. I feel like I learned so much about myself, and I really, really enjoyed the time alone, especially because I was feeling like really kind of just sick of home and like needed a change of scenery, and like it just felt really good to kind of go on a trip by myself. But
you grow up a lot. I think one of the
Yeah.
best things like long distance did for us too is like even when you go from that stage when you're a kid to like growing up and you just like fly alone, you just feel like you're more responsible.
oh my gosh.
It's just funny how like you don't even think
Yeah,
about like those monumental
yeah.
steps is like going to the airport alone from when you were like 14, 15, and that's like just a completely different like feeling that
Yeah.
I think is so good.
Yeah, we can talk about all of this on another episode because I can go into depth about this. But anyways, I kind of just want to keep talking about what we were talking about. But yeah, so I did my open race in Dallas, which took me an hour and 45 minutes. Okay?
Mhm.
Not proud. Whatever. It's behind me. Anaheim 2024. I decided, you know what? It's time to bring out the big guns. I'm doing the pro race with the heavy weights.
Mm-hmm.
It took me an hour and 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Also wasn't happy with that. However, when I break it down and look at the stats, I am very pleased with my running capabilities. I was running around 5:30 kilometer, right? What let me down the most was the stations, and I think it was because first of all, I had an Alani Nu energy drink right before the race, and if you know me, I don't drink energy drinks, and I tried a new drink right before my race. Like, obviously that's not smart. Like, what was I thinking? I don't know.
No,
You know
I know.
why? You know why though?
I know what you're
It's
thinking.
because the race was at like 6:30 p.m., which actually felt like 9:30 p.m. my
crazy,
time.
yeah.
And I never work out at night, so in my head I was like, I need an energy drink. But looking back, that was the dumbest decision ever. I had the most dry mouth.
Mm-hmm.
What is that called?
Cotton mouth.
Cotton mouth. I kind of have it right now. I'm so thirsty just thinking about
Yeah.
how dry my mouth was after I had that energy drink. But anyways, so the stations really let me down. It just wasn't a great race.
And this
I
race,
finished it, but
and just,
it was
I want to
hard.
paint the scene too. Like, this race was the last race of the season. So this year they have a last chance qualifier in Barcelona, which is like the last race where anyone in the pro field can qualify for the elite race. And so this was last year in Anaheim. It was the same thing where it was anyone in the pro field could qualify. So there was so many deep,
Yeah.
like high level athletes at this race that you were in, which is just like funny because like just
Yeah.
the feeling of like intensity elevates itself to a whole
Oh my
nother
gosh,
level.
when you see the elites going, like the women like Camila Massa and Maria Fetchik were racing.
Yeah,
I think
just,
it was like before
Yeah.
or after I was going, and I was like, just everyone was just watching them, and it was actually insane, like the atmosphere, and it's just like
and it's
crazy.
it's just another level of like just like focus and pressure and intensity, and like when you channel that in the right way, it can go well. But I think like when there's all these variables going on, and even you, like, you were just like, you were in a place where clearly you were like, I need this energy drink. You weren't actually really prepared.
No.
If you needed that energy
Yeah.
drink, you weren't mentally focused. Like
I don't know. Yeah,
like,
it was
there was
mostly because I had spent the whole day worrying about this race. Like, I woke up in the morning,
Mhm.
spent the whole day until 6 p.m. just like
which you shouldn't do if
being
you're
nervous
racing
about
it
it.
in the night.
Yeah.
You should not worry about it because the training's done. Everything's
well,
in control.
let me tell you, I tried not to worry about it, and you know what I did? I went by the pool and sat by the pool the whole day, and I got the worst sunburn ever, and I got like heat stroke. So
Well, I'll tell you right.
that was like the worst thing I
But what's
ever
so
did, and
funny-
I'm embarrassed to
what's
say.
so funny-
I'm so embarrassed that that's what I did.
Tash-
but I've grown from that. Okay, I've learned a lot. I'm never
Tash
doing
is-
that again.
Tash said this to me actually right after it happened, and anyone listening who's been like in sports would be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Because not only were you like just like relaxing, which in theory was a good idea, you never, ever, if you were listening to this, you never go in the sun before an event, ever. Like in any world.
And it was only for like an hour too, but
only an hour. That's what's so funny. Is like people listening, like they're probably like, Tash, you literally don't know what you're talking about.
No, I know.
But like this is why it's so important. Is like I think you need to like be so focused and dialed in on the control and controlling how you feel and being confident in how you're going to feel. Listen, anyone, if you want to know where my confidence comes from, is because I don't let anything come to chance. When I am racing, like in 3 weeks, when I race, how I feel at 4 p.m. it's already been decided. It doesn't matter. And if I don't feel that way, I have like 2 different things or 3 different things. I have a drink. I have things that will then change how I feel because I believe in them. I believe in how I'm going to feel. I believe in the things that will allow me to change to feel better. And those are the key principles in performing, because at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares if you're tired? Who cares? The person who you're racing doesn't care, right? And so I think anyone who wants to learn how to like really champion the pre-race nerves, champion the pre-race performance and the confidence and all those things, try and think about what I just was saying and like how confident you have to be in your plan. Really dial that plan.
Okay. Anyways, back to my race in Anaheim. Runs felt great. I had been training for a half marathon, which I did 2 weeks prior. And I ran that at 2:05, which was like better than I could ever imagine. However, I will say though, the 2 weeks after that, like I had the worst DOMs of my life. Like I technically shouldn't have booked another race 2 weeks after. I think honestly, after you do very intense half marathon, your body needs a lot more time to recover. So I don't know. I think it was a mix of that and just a mix of the sunburn, and it was late at night and I had an energy drink, which I never have late at night. So I just felt weird. And yeah, it was a really tough race. However, there are things to improve upon. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. So Calvin kindly made a spreadsheet kind of looking at someone who is around the same fitness level as I am, but who got like a way better time.
No, not a way better time. Your goal time.
Oh, my goal time.
Yeah. So I'll break this down.
Which is a way better time.
So I broke this down. If you can, I'm going to talk very slow so you can understand it, because obviously you're not looking at a spreadsheet right now.
Okay, guys. I got an hour and 40 minutes on that race.
So the first column I have is Tash's entire race breakdown, station by station, and the total time it took in Anaheim. The second column I have is the difference between what she got in Anaheim at the station and the woman who competed at Hyrox Brisbane 6 months ago, who ran a 1 hour and 30-minute race. So I have Tash's old race, the difference between Tash's race and this other woman's race, and then I have this other woman's race.
So if you guys don't know, my goal time is to go sub an hour 30. That is my goal.
And
we'll see if it happens.
Basically, so to very quickly break down kind of how I've gotten her to this hour and 30 mark, I have her running quite a bit slower on all her runs. And so
which is crazy, by the way.
I think it's important. Like the number one analysis I did when I looked at Tash's race in Anaheim was, you are not a strong runner compared to your strength.
Yeah.
You are much stronger. So the fact that your running was much better relative to your strength means you were running way too hard.
I was, because then by the time I got to the stations, I was gassed.
Cooked. You were just completely cooked. You were running in zone 4, and you needed to be in zone 3, or you know what I mean. You needed to have your runs.
Really? I hear people are in zone
No,
5 the whole race.
You can be in zone 5 the whole race. I just mean like in terms of whatever intensity whatever intensity measurement you want to be going off of, whether it's RPE or heart rate or whatever, like wherever you were at, you need to just dial it back 5-10 seconds per kilometer or per kilometer to then get a huge output boost on being able to attack the station. So what I have here is Tash running around 30 seconds slower per kilometer. However, because of the way the race is structured and how the first lap is usually either shorter or longer, and the fact that in Brisbane it's shorter, which just means that all the other 1K runs are a little bit longer. So that's where I'm having you start at this 5 minute per kilometer pace. Mm-hmm. I actually need to do the math on that because I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know how long the first lap is. That's why it doesn't make sense. But whatever it is, I have you running like a certain time. And what I'm going to do with Tash is there's no way to do this any better than I know Tash is going to be wearing a watch with total time. And I'm going to have on her wrist where she needs to be at maybe burpees or sled pull and burpees, and then maybe going into farmer's carry. So she has 3 times like in pen on her wrist. And if she is around where that time is, or if she's way ahead of it, then she knows like I need to slow down a little bit and chill out. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's, I think, one of the best things is personally for my race, like if I leave burpees as close to 30 minutes, if I can leave burpees at 30 minutes, I'm right where I want to be. And so what I'm excited about is Tash is going to pace this race way better than she has done before. And like this woman, for example, who ran a 1 hour and 30 minute race, her 1K average split was a 5:48 per kilometer. So like a 5:48, and I know Tash can definitely hit that.
Oh, for sure.
And so the sub 90 minutes is definitely in your bag. It's 100% in your bag.
I just need to pace the stations.
And that's why we're going to have the times on your wrist.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to go with that.
So anyways, the station that took the longest for me was burpees.
Yeah, I can look. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, so basically I have 10 minutes that I need to shave off in 4 weeks. Time.
Yeah, so your burpees, your sled pull, and your wall balls all took the longest.
Like, so what was the time for burpees?
So your sled pull was 7:22.
Yeah.
Your burpees was
7 minutes.
Your burpees were 7:32, and your wall balls was 7:20. So like between 3 stations, it took 2 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
And those 3 stations like could definitely
be faster, like way
cut
faster.
down, like you could definitely cut down a lot of time, and that's low hanging fruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those are easily based on whatever runs, because the runs of definitely affect the sled pull, the burpees, and the wall balls. Like that, those are 3 stations where the run's definitely affecting you. And
for sure,
I've talked to Tash also about just like making sure that the rower and the skier, she realizes like I know
I'm just gonna take those chill.
I see it in people's eyes when they go into those stations. I can tell when they're like way too like, I'm gonna go crazy.
Yeah, because you just get cooked at the beginning of the race.
That is not
what's
how.
the point of going so hard on the skier?
That is not the mindset going into.
Anyways, enough of the Hyrox talk. What I wanted to also touch on is shoes. So, I've been racing in the New Balance Super Comp V2s ever since May 2024.
Tash is an early adopter of this shoe.
So New Balance, I love New Balance. So these shoes, I got them like without trying them on online or anything, and these shoes like are amazing. Fast forward to now, they are slowly dying. You can tell the grip on the bottom shaved off. There's a little hole in the top where my toenail is just sticking out.
That is the shame of super shoes, is they wear the top, the uppers, and that's really sad. Is like the uppers now of super shoes. If you're looking for super shoes, is like the uppers do not last long enough.
Yeah,
They do
it's
not
so
last
frustrating.
long enough.
They just, the shoes don't last long in general because they're meant for racing.
And they're meant to
So-
be as light as possible, which
Yeah.
is not going to be
Yeah.
as durable as possible.
So
But
anyways, guys, I have wide feet. Like, my feet are double the width of Calvin's feet.
yeah, I have very narrow feet.
So, which is frustrating because a lot of brands make shoes that are have carbon plates, but they don't create them for wide feet. They're all just one width, which is so frustrating because I'll try on a pair of shoes and I'll be like, what the fuck? It's so
It makes no
tight
sense
on
either.
my foot. It's so uncomfortable. It's like this skinny, like the plate and like the insole.
You know what it reminds me of? And like, so if you've heard of Chinese foot binding, like when like this is old age stuff, like because they believed that women should have small feet, they would basically bind your foot into a shoe and you would have to keep them on. And if you can look this up, Chinese foot binding,
That's crazy.
it's cruel. But what's crazy is the fact that the running shoe world says, oh, we're going to make all these wide shoes for like all our non-carbon shoes, like for everybody who have wide feet, and then not actually give them an option for racing in them, which
It's
is just,
so
it
annoying.
makes no sense.
So anyways,
but
point being, New Balance is the only brand that offers a wide option for carbon
they
plate
do.
shoes.
So they do.
Yes.
So New Balance is
So
in the-
anyways, that's why I love
the green.
these Super Comp V2s so much, is that they were in a wide and they fit me perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're in Australia, I want to get a new pair of shoes, clearly, because the ones that I have are just like, they're just slowly wearing away. And I'm just a little worried that I'm not going to find one that fits my foot. However, these are my options. So, you got the New Balance, the new version,
the
right?
SC Elite. So yeah, I just recently bought the SC Elite V4, which is New Balance's top racing shoe.
Right.
And I'm so excited. I am so excited. I recently got the Rebel V4 as a daily trainer, and they look so similar. The shoes look very similar. I was just looking up today
But
what
they're
the
like
weight.
$200 difference.
But yeah, but then these ones are supposed to be fast.
Yeah.
As fuck. And they have carbon plate, and like I'm hoping that it just feels like they just run fast.
Yeah.
And I was on the fence about this. I was most likely going to stick with my Magic Speeds, which I've raced in Toronto, but I was hesitant. I was hesitant just because I know they don't have the greatest grip, and I've been really liking training in these New Balances, and so I decided just to go for it. Yeah.
So anyways, my options are to stick with New Balance and just order a pair online that are wide, either the new Super Comp trainer or the SC Elite. I don't know which one I want yet because they both have a carbon plate. The Elite just is a better shoe.
Yeah, I think it's just like $40 more.
What was that yawn?
No, so I don't know where it was, but like someone told me when you yawn and you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you just stop yawning. And so sometimes I'll just be yawning, and then I'll just stick my tongue to the roof of my mouth.
I was gonna say
and
that
then
looked
my
so
body
weird.
just like my eyes start doing something weird, and I just look like a weirdo. But anyway, okay, so you got two shoes. You got the New Balance.
They're both New Balance.
Yeah, you got two
I'm a
New
New
Balance.
Balance stan. However, I'm willing to try the Pumas, but they don't come in wide, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
They look pretty narrow too.
I don't understand why brands have not changed this.
Yeah. And I think
I don't get it.
But I think what's cool is to see that like the Puma shoe that's built for Hyrox actually looks like it's good for Hyrox.
Yeah.
Like, it's taken a couple years, I think, where the Puma shoe actually looks like it could be a good shoe for
Yeah.
Hyrox. And you know what's interesting though is anyone who's watching, the shoe that won Las Vegas, Hyrox Las Vegas, Dylan Scott, he was wearing was the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 1, which is an out-of-date shoe. So they've come out with the Wave Rebellion Pro 2, which another top 15 guy, Rich Ryan, who he does the podcast with Megan Jacoby and Ryan Ken, big Hyrox guys. And so he started wearing the Rebellion 2 almost like a few months ago. And I knew he was saying a lot of good things about it. But what's interesting is the fact that he, I think, just missed out on qualifying this race because of a few things that happened in the race that I think mentally kind of put him in a bad spot because of the judging. But then this guy,
do we have a story
this
for
guy,
you about
this
judging?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
That'll
with
be
that.
another episode.
This is one of the craziest stories. However, so the guy who won, though, Dylan Scott, he was wearing these Wave Rebellion Pro 2s. And so anyone who's like a neutral to forefront foot striker, which means you're not heel striking, like these shoes are grippy and fast, and they're proven to be fast. And so if you're looking for just like a wild card shoe, let me tell you, Mizuno, that is not the first thing you think of when you think of like a big running brand. And so, yeah, maybe check them out.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if I'll check them out because I tend to heel strike more.
Yeah, you're definitely not suited for that shoe at all.
At all. Because if you guys don't know, this shoe, it literally doesn't have a heel on it.
It has a 50 millimeter stack in the middle of your foot so that they can make the shoe legal. So basically, to explain, the back of the shoe to be legal needs to be under 39 millimeters. And so basically what they did was they shaved the back of the heel and then made the middle, like kind of just in front of it, 50 millimeters. And so you can still kind of strike and still get that huge kind of stack height. And anyway, how many more shoes do you have?
That's it. That's kind of all I want to talk about. I just wanted a new pair of shoes, and I'm probably just gonna.
It's too bad because the Hyrox grip is so important that like you can't just take your favorite shoe and use it on the race day.
But that's what I did, and honestly, the New Balance work pretty well. Like I didn't have a problem with slipping. Like, I've seen videos of people actually slipping and, like, shoes falling off of people's feet.
Crazy.
I've never had an issue with New Balance.
And those shoes that person was wearing were brand new. Know they were brand new.
Brand new A6.
Which is crazy. Because, those were my favorite shoes. So, who knows if she just didn't lace them up tight. But I think the importance of grip is more important than I had ever really thought in specifically the pro singles race, because in a doubles race you can get away with things like that. However, in pro singles you want to feel like you're just solid. You want to feel compact and controlled, and you don't want to feel like that. And so it's too bad that like once your shoes just get kind of worn out, then you can't use them. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing.
We don't have much left to talk about, but what we did want to chat about was mostly for us in like the recent weeks, we've really noticed that there is such a power in like the perspective that you put on things, and how negativity can kind of really build within you without you realizing it, and how you portray yourself, not only to yourself but to other people can really like tell if you are being negative or anything like that. And we kind of just wanted to recognize when your mindset's working against you, and also talk about how sometimes, like, if you have a setback, it's more just reframing what it is.
Yeah. I think what's amazing to realize is just acknowledging the fact that like the little things in your life make much more of an impact than you realize. And once you kind of understand that, then you try and reframe how much power and influence that you let those things have on you. Yeah. And I think, Tash, personally and from your own like experience, like if there's something that you are like, is there one example that you think is best, but like just how one moment can just completely change how your whole day is going?
Yeah, for sure. Like today, for example, and yesterday actually, I woke up feeling kind of like on the cusp of like getting a cold. You know when you feel like just not 100%, super tired, body's just like not it, no energy. So yesterday, I think I dropped Calvin off at work. I went to the grocery store, came home, and I was like, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid down for a second, was just on my phone. Next thing you know, an hour and a half later, I fell asleep for an hour and a half. Keep in mind, guys, I never take naps, ever. I don't nap at all. So I woke up feeling out of this world. And I know you know that feeling. Just completely
there's either one way
fuck?
when you go into a nap, you're either waking up one way or another, and it's either like you wake up and you're like, where the fuck am I? Or you're like, that just saved me. That literally saved me from death, sickness.
Well, and that's the thing. So like I took that nap because I really needed it. Like clearly my body was telling me, you didn't sleep well. Your body's literally about to shut down. Like, you need to sleep. So I fell asleep, woke up, obviously didn't feel great, but you know what? I woke up, I made myself a little soy latte, tried to make some latte art. Day was made. And then you know what I did? Instead of like being mad at myself because I took a nap and wasted half the day, I texted Calvin and I said, after work, do you want to go swimming? And you were like, you know what? Yeah, because we never do that. We never just go for a swim.
And there's two things there. Like, the fact that you texted me, like, I was like, that was a little thing that like made my day. But then also just change. Like, sometimes you get stuck in these routine circles where definitely. I think like when you texted me that, I was like, yeah, you know, just like doing something different from what we normally do, which is just like a cookie cutter way to live.
Yeah,
if you can change that, like, you can get out of that kind of cycle of just like doing the same thing and like living a little, as people say, that is huge.
Yeah.
I also want to say, to my own experience with like just how the little things really impact me, is the best example I have in what I think about is like things that affect my values also really rattle me. And I hope someone can relate to this. Is like, to me, being on time is very important, because ever since I was young, I was drilled into me that like being on time is so important, right? Like, it's your reputation, it's your respect, it's everything, right? Like, why, it's one thing you can control. And on the other hand, I also knew people that didn't give a shit about being on time, and I knew what I thought about that. I thought it was a lack of respect or a lack of care to other people and your responsibility. And so I just know, like, when I'm running late or like I mismanage my time, and like even if it's on my own doing, I'm pissed off at the fact that I'm letting myself down more than anything, right? And when you when you hold yourself to a high standard, you hold yourself to like whatever like set of values you live by. When there's little things that go against your values, or you break them, you break the promises you made to yourself, it can really, really rattle you in terms of how your day is going. And I think both of us can probably think about all the little things that probably affect us, and it goes back to those values. It goes back to like what you really care about, which is really how you kind of have your moral compass and your guide, right? Those values are guiding kind of what you really care about and what you really don't care about.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, that's kind of what we've been reflecting on just in the recent like days, is that little things can make a huge difference. And whether that's just in terms of like your negativity or the way you portray yourself, or just making yourself feel better as a person, I feel like just finding little things and reframing maybe something that didn't go to plan as just another way of doing things. Maybe it was just a redirection, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think like in terms of, I think that it is important though to say like a few strategies about like how we deal with like not letting those things like control our lives. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know if this is like too cliche, but like when you zoom out, or when you think about like, how does this really impact my life in a full picture?
Yeah.
Like, how significant will this actually make how much will this actually affect my life? It's usually very little.
Yeah, like we went to 3 stores, sold out of eggs, all 3 stores. Instead of whining about it and bitching about it, I said, you know what? Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, it's out of my control. You can't control that.
Yeah.
So find a solution. I took myself out for breakfast, and I
and
had an amazing time by myself.
One of my favorite sayings that I say to Tash, and maybe you guys can start saying to the people in your lives, is when shit's hitting the fan and things are going wrong, I always look at Tash, and she usually ignores me, but I say, the sun is going to rise. The sun will rise, Tash.
You say that a lot when I'm just like in a bad mood.
The sun is going to rise. And it's just like, the truth is the sun will rise whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? The good times will happen, the bad times will pass. Everything
the days are going to keep going on, and
forward.
If you can't control something, then like, why worry about it, right?
Exactly.
So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. What's your free speed for today's episode?
My free speed goes to the point where I just want to bring it back to like having a plan, but also being able to use that mindset that we literally just touched on, which is like, you want to be prepared, you want to be focused going into races, you want to be confident that you have done all the things that you have needed to do to be ready to perform. But you also need to balance that mindset. That was insane.
No.
You need to balance that mindset with being able to know that the sun will rise. That like, it won't necessarily ruin or change for the good. It won't change your life for the good or ruin your life either way.
Yeah.
And so like, you need to be loose in that sense, but also control what you can control and be excited to be dialed. Because if you let the situation, the nerves or whatever ruin the moment, then you've actually lost before you've begun. And I think that's my free
wisdom
speed
right there.
Make sure you have not lost before you've started. Tash, what's your free speed?
My free speed is read the instructions before you hang up a poster, Calvin. I'm just kidding.
What?
Calvin likes to think that he knows how to do everything without reading instructions, and the amount of times where like open the leaflet that you get in anything and he hasn't even looked at it, and he's just like trying to build it or trying to just do it by himself, and I'm like, have you read the instructions? He goes, no, I don't need it. Well,
I'm a lawless man.
That happened, but you know what? That's okay, because it's just a redirection. It had a glare on it anyways. Yep, it cost us money. Yeah. We'll find a solution, and our set is going to look even better than before.
It's funny because I want to see our reactions in the end of this episode, because hopefully you guys didn't get just like completely ear blasted if you're listening to this on audio.
Oh yeah, if you're listening to this on audio, our poster that we've just hung up and spent like an hour hanging up just completely fell and broke. So we are going to fix this poster. We hope you have a great week and enjoy. My free speed. That was a joke.
Oh, that was a joke one.
Yeah.
Okay.
My actual free speed, Coco Bella coconut chocolate water. If you guys are in Australia, if you're listening to this and haven't tried it, I tried it for the first time today. That shit's free speed. It's literally the best chocolate milk I've had ever. I'm gonna see Tash, and it's non-dairy.
The morning of Hyrox, just chugging some cocoa choco.
And guys, listen, like chocolate milk when I was a kid, like my mom wouldn't let us drink that because there was too much sugar in it. But when I could have that, like I loved having that. Even though there was consequences with my stomach, I would still drink it. But it's literally been probably like 10 years since I've had chocolate milk, and the fact that it's coconut water chocolate milk and doesn't have dairy is actually insane to me. And there's electrolytes in it as well.
Yeah.
And not that much sugar.
It's like 5 for 1. You just listed a 5 in 1.
Yeah.
You thought your 2-in-1 shampoo was good?
Cocoa Bella coconut chocolate water.
Revolutionary.
Yep.
All right. Have a great week, guys. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Music. Or Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, not Apple Music. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we have the Free Speed podcast coming on YouTube, and we're also starting eventually a series called Free Speed Unfiltered, where we're going to have a lot of training vlogs for our upcoming races, which is the Sunshine Coast Marathon and Hyrox. So yeah, stay tuned. We're super excited for the next couple months. And yeah, we're just getting started. Clearly we have some work to do with our hanging skills.
But it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.